So you want to go from being a data analyst to a data scientist. Hi, I'm Brian Amrine with Value Driven Analytics, here today to give you some advice on becoming a data scientist. Now, I can understand why you'd want to become a data scientist. It's a lot of fun. You get to use machine learning to automatically detect insights. It's going to take your analytical rigor to a whole new level, and a lot of times it comes with higher compensation. So there's a lot of reasons to become a data scientist. But what does it take to actually become a data scientist? Well, to put it in simple terms, it takes two main things. It takes learning and it takes applying. Learning and applying. Now, within each one of those is a lot. When it comes to learning, it takes learning new platforms, new coding languages potentially, like SQL and Python. It takes learning new algorithms like regression and all kinds of different machine learning algorithms. And it takes learning some new techniques. The concept of data leakage and a holdout versus a trained data set, overfitting, all kinds of things. So it takes learning. And then once you've done that, you've got to apply it. You could be applying it to personal data sets. You could be applying it to publicly available data. And maybe you're even able to find some projects at work where you can start applying some of the machine learning algorithms that you've been learning about to have an impact there and start to show management that you have this skill and that you're qualified to be a data scientist. Let's talk a little bit more about what you need to learn. Now, I mentioned SQL is one of the languages that you would want to learn. SQL is great for aggregating data and joining data and shaping data like no other tool I know. It is a staple in the analytics and the data science space. In fact, you, as a data analyst, you may already be using SQL, which is a great start. SQL is a great tool for shaping the data set that you're about to build a model on. Now, SQL itself can hardly be used for any modeling algorithm. You can't really run an algorithm with SQL, with the exception of things like market basket analysis, if you consider that to be a modeling algorithm. But SQL is great for shaping your data set. Now, the next tool that you're going to want to learn is an advanced analytics tool like SAS, R, or Python. And if you look at the trends in the industry, a lot more machine learning is being done in Python these days, especially when it comes to the really advanced deep learning neural networks out there. So I would highly recommend focusing on Python myself. Now, those are great tools to learn, but how do you learn them? Well, I'm going to give you a few links to existing resources that you can use to start learning SQL, Python. I have a few introductions right now, and I plan on creating more trainings into these tools. So keep an eye out for that on my channel. Please subscribe to get updates on when those are available. And I plan on making them very accessible from a beginner's perspective. So once you've learned those platforms, SQL and Python, that are used to code out your data science models, the next step would be to learn some algorithms. And I would start with statistical algorithms like regression, linear regression, logistic regression. There's other forms of regression for other distributions. Learn regression. That is one of the most basic forms of data science, but one of the most explainable forms, and it can get quite complex. Then I'd start learning about some basic machine learning, things like decision trees, maybe random forest after that, which is essentially a lot of decision trees brought together. Gradient boosting trees is another good one. All kinds of algorithms that you could learn, and this would probably be maybe a year or two or further down the road, but eventually you might want to learn about some really advanced algorithms like building different types of neural networks. And those can be used for really complex tasks like classifying images or sounds. But essentially, you're going to want to start learning some algorithms. Now, maybe you just start with regression and some basic machine learning ones at first, get some practice applying those, and then come back to learn other ones. That's certainly a a good approach. Really, the quickest you can get up and running and starting to apply some of these techniques, I think would be good. And we'll talk more about the application part soon. But beyond the coding platforms, beyond the algorithms, you also need to learn the techniques around machine learning. So concepts like I need to have one data set that I'm going to build the model on and another data set that I'm going to test the model on in order to assess whether there's overfitting happening. The bias variance trade-off, which comes up in almost every modeling decision. Preventing data leakage. All of these are examples of concepts that apply to regression models or decision trees or random forest. Doesn't matter what algorithm you're using. All of these techniques and concepts, you need to be familiar with those in order to successfully and robustly apply any of those algorithms. So those are important to understand. Now, from an algorithm perspective, from a data science techniques perspective, even a Python coding perspective, there's one source that I would recommend going to, and that is the Introduction to Statistical Learning. It's a PDF. I'll include the link to that in the description of this video, but I got so much out of reading that. It is very accessible. It doesn't assume as much prior knowledge, and you can start reading that, and it's going to take you through all kinds of algorithms from regression to machine learning. There's a Python-based one and an R-based one, so you can learn Python along the way, and it'll cover concepts that we were just talking about, like having a holdout data set and a training data set as well. Very comprehensive, very accessible Introduction to Statistical Learning. Check it out. All right, you've learned some platforms, you've learned some algorithms, you've learned some data science techniques, and now it is time to perform the critical step of actually applying those to some real data science projects. And what I mean by this is not just maybe following along an example that you've seen in a training, but actually identifying a good data science problem. So one place to start is perhaps a problem in your personal life, like maybe you buy and sell stocks and you decide to create an algorithm to try to predict stock market performance. Now that's a really hard thing to do, but it's a great machine learning project to practice your new skills on. Now, another thing that you could do is look out for publicly available data sets. And you'll find these on all kinds of government websites and so many other sites where you can get free data. You can even get it from certain APIs. I have a video where I show how to build a prediction of who's going to win a particular college football game based on a huge history of college football games and who won those and what the score was. So check that out if you're interested in seeing an example of this, but there's all kinds of publicly available data out there. Now you can even go to sites like Kaggle and KD Nuggets to see all kinds of really interesting data sets, and they'll give you machine learning challenges, and once you've built your model, you can actually apply it to a score data set, upload your predictions, and they will rank your model against all the other models that have been submitted, and you can see how your model stacks up in terms of accuracy. It's a really fun thing to do, and it'll help you refine your data science techniques and see how you're doing from a prediction perspective. Now, if you're at a company currently, maybe you can find some opportunities to take a challenge that is not being worked on today and start to take some of your machine learning skills and everything you've learned and applying it to a real business challenge that your company faces. And if you can do that well enough over time, eventually that may open up a formal data science opportunity at your company. Now, it's also really important during the application phase to get feedback. You may have done your best to apply everything that you've learned in a robust way, but perhaps there's something you missed along the way. Nobody's perfect. So look for the opportunity to get an analytics mentor, a data science mentor. You can start with perhaps a data science team at your company if one exists, why not partner with someone on that team and share your interest in becoming a data scientist so that they can look for opportunities to join your team, perhaps as a junior data scientist on the team at some point. But that could be a great source for finding a mentor. Now, maybe there isn't much data science happening at your organization today. That could be a big opportunity for you. Perhaps there are other data analysts like yourself that want to learn data science. Why not be the person to organize everyone together so that you can learn together? And as you do that, you can do peer review, show your model that you've built to someone else who's learning data science at the same time, and get their feedback. Perhaps they saw a technique when they were learning that you did not, and they're able to say, that's good, but I really think you could incorporate this concept as well, and vice versa. So you're able to give each other feedback. Now, ultimately, this whole idea of applying your data science skills, it comes back to a concept that in a roadmap that I covered in my roadmap to become a formal leader in the analytics space. And that is become as efficient as possible with your time. So even getting to potentially a point where you're able to do your regular requests as a data analyst in perhaps 20 hours a week. The more efficient you can become, the more productive you can become with those regular tasks, it's going to open up more time where you can potentially take that time and invest it into applying data science skills to your company. And the more you can do that, and the better you do that, it could open up some formal opportunities for you as a data scientist at your company. So get really efficient with the data analyst task through automation, through reusable assets. We have a whole training on efficiency techniques that can really help you get to that place where you're spending less time on the regular task and it frees up more time. And then proactively pursue these data science projects that you want to learn more about. And in order to learn more about it, in order to get good at data science, you've got to apply it. So it'll create that time to do just that, to allow you to proactively pursue data science projects. Now, we've talked about a lot of things. We've talked about learning analytics platforms, learning algorithms, learning data science techniques. We've talked about applying all of these things in your personal life to publicly available data sets, the challenges that your organization is facing. And we've talked about getting feedback from a mentor. But are you ready for the number one mistake that many aspiring data scientists make? They spend too much time learning and never get to the application step. So now it's time to stop watching this video and start your data science journey. I want to thank you for watching today. I hope you got a lot out of it. And if you did, please consider liking the video and subscribing if you'd like to see more videos like this in the future. Now, if you have any questions about what we covered, please consider leaving a comment and I'll try to respond to it as soon as I can. One last thing, if you or your organization ever need anything analytics related, an analysis, a dashboard build, maybe a data science model build, perhaps deeper training on this very topic or other analytics topics, even a complete analytics transformation, please consider value-driven analytics. Check out our site at valuedrivenanalytics.com, and if it resonates with you, give us a call. We'd love to help you out.